What's going on, everybody? Patrick Auger here, Drake Riggs, Body Lock coming at you, talking about women's atomweight. Yes, that's right, a women's atomweight division in the UFC. In a recent interview with the Schmo, Dana White said, I would love to do a 105-pound division, and I've kicked it around, talked about it, thought about it, so we'll see. So just a little bit of a snippet there, but I mean, he's thought about it. He's kicked it around. That's better than what he used to say about, women's bantamweight and strawweight before he brought those in. So with that in mind, Drake, is this going to happen, and should it happen?
There's a lot to go into this. And I feel like I've repeated myself a lot recently, but that's what we're doing. We're going to talk about it. So let's go right into it. It has definitely been something that he has thought about, just from what I've heard and in background talk and all that with fighters and you name it who. I'm not going to give out my sources or anything, but yes, it has definitely been on his mind and all that. Should it happen? Will it happen? Two very different questions. I think it should have happened, if it was going to happen, about 2 years ago. December 2018 is always the time frame I go back to, when Jinh Yu Frey, current UFC strawweight, was the atomweight champion of Invicta. A big name, one of the biggest fan bases in Invicta at the time, and still very popular among those fans and everything, of course, because why wouldn't she still be? She finally became the champion after a run where it just seemed like she couldn't quite make it there. Has a very controversial decision against Mina Grusander, one of the biggest robberies I've probably ever seen, but she gets redemption in the rematch, solidifies her claim to being the champion. Right there is when they should have pulled the trigger, because, okay, now you have this very marketable face, this person who has a lot of fans in this division, American, it checks off all the boxes for where you would want to start your division with somebody who is actually an atomweight, right? Instead of going the Holly Holm, Jermaine Durandamy route with featherweight, which that's not what they wanted to do, I would imagine, right? But Cyborg and all that ridiculousness, we won't get into that. But you start it with Jin. Of course, strawweights will drop down. That will still be a possibility if it ever happens, and would add to things, make it all the more exciting and all that. So that was the time, I think, missed the boat, because they could have plucked and essentially taken the entire Invicta atomweight division if they wanted to. We've seen people always going back and forth from these two promotions now, and they essentially work together. UFC Fight Pass is where it is shown, all that stuff. It's a working partnership. So that was the perfect time. The boat has kind of passed on that, where people have gone different routes. Jin could still hypothetically come back down to atomweight and all that, but I think the time has passed. Of course, she's on the back end a little bit. She decided to leave atomweight, because she was getting the UFC getting the shot in the strawweight division, and she was just having lingering issues with her neck and all that. So it sounded like she was done at atomweight. But the point is, people have gone in a lot of different areas now, and are just, the thing about atomweight is it's very scattered. Worldwide, the talent, like the top 15 in particular, it's very scattered, but the central focus of all great fighters is over in Asia. So that means they're tied up with what they're doing, who they're fighting for. The best are over there. The Ayaka Hamasakis, the Sohei Hams and everything, and one championship, and right then, gonna be tough to pull them away from there. And do they want to go there? Ham has been in the UFC at strawweight already. So it's very complicated at this point, I think. And if they should do it, it kind of goes in the line to where I don't think that they should do it right now that they've missed this prime time, and where they would bring in all these fighters and make up a division that will not be as good as it possibly can be, right? I don't want to see it a watered down version where it's not the best of the best, and they're just telling us, hey, look at the best atomweights. Kind of similar to think about when the Ultimate Fighter 26 happened with the flyweights, and they brought in all these flyweights who, there were some very good ones in there, but it definitely wasn't all the best options they possibly could have. I don't want it to feel similar to that. All right. I do not want to see that, where they're telling us that this is the best atomweight in the world, when if it's not Sohei Ham or Ayaka Hamasaki, you're full of shit, and everybody will know it if they follow the division. So maybe you can get that past some casuals and everything, but all the people who know what's up are not going to buy that. So with all that in mind, you also got to think about the business side of things, which, shout out to my man Shingo. He mentioned this reason why he doesn't think it's going to happen anytime soon is because of all the fighters, the main top fighters who make up the division are more Asia-based, right? And do not speak English. You got to think about from that marketability standpoint and promoting your champions. Of course, they can do it and have done it with non-English speakers in the past and are doing it right now. Stipe is the only English champion and all that, but most of them speak English and all that. The problem is when more people than not are not speaking English, if that makes sense, more of it make up the non-English speakers, it kind of changes things in a bit more of an impact to make everybody relatable with your primary audience in all of that. So it just, I don't know. There's not much of a reason for it. And then you also got to account for, I'm hitting all the points here, Pat. I know I'm dragging on, but I'm hitting all the points for you. You got to account for the fact that we're talking about roster cuts too. I don't know why he's entertaining this. He's talked about the 60 cuts coming up this year and all that. So why entertain this idea of bringing in a division, which if you think about that hand in hand, and it does happen, all the more chances that it's going to be watered down, right? So I don't understand why he's trying to get our hopes up for something that will either be bad or won't happen. So it's all over the place. So essentially, I don't think it should happen just yet. And will it happen? I don't think so. I think it's both no's.
Yeah, he did say, Dana White did say in an interview or a little tidbit with Aaron Bronstetter from about a month ago that it wasn't going to happen this year. So I definitely don't think we're going to see it in 2021. Especially, yes, that quote says he's kicked around, he loves it. That's great, but I don't think it gets done in 2021, maybe 2022 and beyond. I can see the business side of it. As you mentioned, a huge part of this is Sohee Ham, came into the UFC and did very poorly, to be frank, because she was fighting up where she was clearly...
She fought three flyweights.
Yeah, exactly.
And arguably beat almost all of them.
I mean, yeah, they were very close, but in terms of she still ended up losing, getting those losses on her record from the casual fans' perception, who's not going to be following Atomweight or what's going on in, Japan and all of that, and one championship, all of Asia, really, where you've got most of the Atomweights. To them, if you mention Sohee Ham, they're like, oh, the person that, is what, 1 in 3, I think, or 1 in... Yep. Yeah, in the UFC, which is ridiculous because then you look and see what she's done recently, and come on. But I also think that from a business perspective, something that now comes to light, and the reason why he's entertaining this and he's kind of, putting the feelers out there right now is at this point, the UFC has kind of made their move into the Middle East and Russia. That was the next segment they wanted to target. Back, I think in 2016 or 2017, I did a piece talking about all of the UFC's kind of infrastructure and media rights deals to get UFC Russia and things for free. And in that area, they were really targeting Russia and the Middle East. At this point, they've really gotten that audience, or at least the portion of the audience that they want. They've got a foothold there to grow. You had Khabib as the champion, which was massive for that region. You have the television rights deals that, really ended up paying dividends for the UFC in a big way. And now you've got, people like Khamzat Chimaev, who's going over to Chechnya right now, doing all that stuff. Like, clearly the region, clearly the region is tuned in to MMA. And now they're looking at the next frontier, which is Asia, right? That was it was China at first with the Shanghai Performance Center, and then Weili Zhang getting that title shot, which a lot of people would say, Weili Zhang getting that title shot was a little bit rushed. I'm not mad at it. I think it's great, especially how it turned out. But she definitely got the fast track, right, to get that shot against Andrade in China. So, that's a big deal. So you capitalize on that now, and you have that, Chinese champion that really has done wonders for the UFC in Asia, where they were able to renegotiate that TV deal immediately and pretty much double it from what I've heard. It only makes sense to kind of branch out and keep going into Asia and start encroaching on some of those areas that they've left alone, like Japan, like Indonesia, with places where Ryzen and One are more well known right now. And so it's one of those things where I can see the reason why he's talking about doing it now as a future plan in the next couple of years, especially with how well they've done in Russia and China. It makes sense to just keep going east and getting the rest of that market, and an atomweight division, as you mentioned, if they can get some of these fighters who are over with different promotions, signed. If you bring back Seo Hee Ham against, a karate hottie, which I know is who they really want to push because she was an atomweight. Yeah. And she's done very well at strawweight, but I think at atomweight, she can be a force to be reckoned with. So it's one of those things. It makes a lot of sense. I think they believe that they have a marketable champion in karate hottie if she can, drop down and take the belt, which I think the initial fight, regardless of how they build out the roster, I think that's what they would probably do is put her in the immediate title fight. And I think they can scoop up a good portion of that market. So that's why he's talking about it. Again, will it happen? I don't know. It's really going to depend how this year goes. The roster cuts, as you mentioned, I think that actually works in their favor just because you can sign a bunch of new people at those lower rates, maybe a little bit higher than Contender Series, but still, not some of these guys that are maybe, going 500 or 600 in the UFC winning percentage wise and have now worked their way up that formulaic ladder to they're getting 60, 70 grand to show and win. Those are the people they're really looking at cutting that are middling 5-5 guys who are just taking up money, take that guy out and end up signing some new exciting competitors to build out a division. I see Dana's, thought process there. So I get the business side of it. I mean, again, what you're saying in terms of, from a fan perspective, I don't know how you're going to get a real full division. I think you're going to end up with, unfortunately, something along the lines of a more, I'm going to say somewhere between flyweight and featherweight. I think you can get enough going that you can build out something similar to women's flyweight right now. But I also don't think it's going to be the actual best atom weights in the world in the division right away. I think it's going to take several years if they decide to go that route.
Yeah, definitely. Because you got to look at, I feel like they would bank off in the beginning, the straw weights dropping down. Because you got to look at, you mentioned Watterson, of course. Maybe Penne. She hasn't been released yet. If she's still thinking about coming back, she's been doing a lot of things lately. Actually hoping to speak with her soon. So I might have just jinxed it by putting that out there, but I'll catch up with her hopefully. So that's Watterson, Penne. Carla is very all for that. Torres likely would go down. Loma Luke Boonmay 100% would go down, and that's where she's best anyways. Unfortunately, don't see her going very far at strawweight because of her size. Hannah Cyphers would be much better fit at atomweight too. So that's 6 people right off the top of my head that absolutely would drop down. That's half of a top 10, right? So I think that they would hope for a lot of those initially to kind of mask the fact that they don't have plenty of natural exclusive atom weights that they would bring in. Of course, they would bring in some to fill things out a bit, but it would look very similar to the start of featherweight and flyweight indeed. And, for the most part, those have been very slow to come along. Flyweight this year has definitely really started improving, getting back to, that point where it was very good at a point worldwide. I thought that it was the best division for the females. Of course, that has kind of changed a lot since then, but they're getting back to being solid. Featherweight, do I have to say anything? It's what it is. Unfortunately, as much as it hurts me for the women in that division and having to go through all the malarkey that they have had, dropping a malarkey on this show. It's just, I want to see it be good, but I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you. I want to see featherweight built out a little bit more. You had the Ultimate Fighter featherweights, and then almost all of them dropped down to bantamweight. So it's kind of one of those things where featherweight is where it is what I will leave that as. Make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe. Let us know in the comments if you think atomweight is going to happen in the UFC, if you think it should happen in the UFC. There's obviously a lot of potential here. If we look at those fighters, we mentioned a couple of them as well, but let us know how you're feeling about all this and if you even care, because I know there are some of you out there who are saying atomweight, what? Let us know if you're one of those, just so we can get an idea. Let us know how you feel about adding another women's division at this point to the UFC.